In early 2011, inside a secure, soundproof room, two FBI agents were glued to their headphones. Suddenly, a voice cut through the static. It was high-pitched, with a sing-songy quality, and it belonged to Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the most dangerous and elusive man in the world. He was barking orders over a communications network he thought was a ghost, a system built by his own trusted tech genius that was supposed to be completely untraceable. But the agents could hear everything. They were inside his digital fortress, listening to the Kingpin's most secret conversations, all thanks to a stunning betrayal from the heart of the cartel. This is the story of how a young IT expert built an empire's communication system and then helped the FBI tear it all down from the inside. By the late 2000s, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was more myth than man. As the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, he ran a global drug empire that stretched across continents, dealing in cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin. His brutality was legendary, his wealth was off the charts, and his talent for evading capture was a constant source of frustration for law enforcement worldwide. For years, the DEA and the FBI had been desperate to get a wiretap on him, to intercept the commands that sent tons of drugs north and ignited bloody wars in Mexico. But every time they got close, Chapo vanished. He was a ghost. He operated from fortified hideouts in the Sierra Madre Mountains, a region he controlled with an iron fist and a payroll of corrupt officials. His security was a private army of loyal hitmen. But Chapo knew his greatest defense wasn't guns, it was silence. The cartel had learned from past mistakes, when wiretaps on lower-level members led to major arrests. Chapo was smart. He knew that an unsecured phone call could be a death sentence. He needed a way for his organization to talk freely, to coordinate shipments, order hits, and bribe officials without anyone listening in. He needed a system that was totally invisible to American and Mexican authorities. It had to be encrypted, private, and absolutely foolproof. Law enforcement was pouring millions into surveillance, but Chapo planned to build a digital fortress that would leave them deaf and blind. The only problem? He had no idea how to build it. For that, he needed an expert, someone who could create a custom communication network just for the cartel. He found that person in a young, ambitious IT prodigy from Colombia named Christian Rodriguez, a man who would become the architect of Chapo's greatest technological weapon, and ultimately, the key to his spectacular downfall. The man El Chapo trusted was Christian Rodriguez, a quiet, unassuming computer engineer from Colombia. Not some hardened criminal, but he was brilliant. Rodriguez came highly recommended by another major Colombian drug trafficker for his skill in creating secure communication systems. So, Chapo summoned him to a mountain hideout in Sinaloa with a single mission: build a network that no government on Earth could crack. And Rodriguez delivered. He designed and implemented a communication system that was years ahead of its time, a true ghost network. This wasn't some off-the-shelf system. It was a closed-loop network using Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP technology, like a super-secure version of Skype. Rodriguez took BlackBerry smartphones, stripped them down, and installed his own software, routing all calls and messages through private, encrypted servers. These servers were strategically hidden in Canada, tucked away behind shell companies to make them virtually untraceable. Every call was scrambled with powerful encryption, turning conversations into gibberish for anyone trying to eavesdrop. The system was genius. Cartel members could call each other with simple 3-digit extensions, just like an office phone network. Outsiders couldn't call in, and every outgoing call was completely masked. By 2010, the network was running, and for law enforcement, it was a disaster. The constant cartel chatter they relied on suddenly went silent. The Sinaloa cartel had gone dark. Rodriguez became essential to Chapo, who paid him around $500,000 for his work. The Kingpin was so impressed with Rodriguez's skills and so consumed by his own paranoia that he had him take it a step further. Install spyware on the phones of his wife, mistresses, and closest lieutenants. Using a program called FlexiSpy, Rodriguez gave Chapo the power to read their texts and listen to their calls. It was a stunning display of control. But, in a perfect twist of irony, the very tools Chapo used to spy on others would soon be turned against him. While Chapo was enjoying the silence of his ghost network, the FBI was hitting a brick wall. They knew the cartel was moving massive amounts of product, but they couldn't hear a thing. The encryption was just too good. FBI Special Agent Stephen Marston, a veteran of narcotics cases, knew they couldn't break the network head-on. As he later put it, they realized that without an insider, they were not going to get inside. They couldn't break the network, so they decided to break the man who built it. Their target was Christian Rodriguez. Following informant tips, the FBI identified him as the network's architect. But getting to a man protected by the world's most powerful cartel wasn't easy. They couldn't just arrest him, they needed him to cooperate willingly. So, they hatched an elaborate sting. Sometime in late 2010 or early 2011, they set their trap. An undercover FBI agent contacted Rodriguez, posing as a representative for a Russian mafia group. They told him they were impressed with his work and wanted to hire him to build a similar network for them. The bait was a meeting at a high-end hotel in Manhattan. Lured by the promise of another big payday, Rodriguez flew to New York and walked straight into the FBI's hands. Hidden cameras recorded everything. The agents, playing their roles as Russian mobsters, got Rodriguez to boast about his work for the cartel and the specifics of his encrypted system. He was unknowingly giving the FBI a full confession. Once they had what they needed, the act was over. The agents revealed their badges. "Actually, we're the FBI," they told him. "You need to cooperate." The choice was simple: face narco-terrorism charges that would put him in a U.S. prison for decades, or become an FBI informant and betray Joaquin Guzman. Rodriguez knew what the cartel did to traitors. It was a terrifying choice, but staring down a long prison sentence, he flipped on the spot. The FBI now had their man on the inside. The architect of the Ghost Network was about to become their ghost in the machine. Christian Rodriguez was now a double agent, living under an unimaginable amount of stress. He went back to work for the cartel while secretly feeding information to his FBI handlers. His first and most critical mission was to give the FBI a key to the kingdom. The network's servers were still in Canada, where privacy laws made it difficult for U.S. law enforcement to get wiretaps. So, Rodriguez came up with a brilliant lie. He went to El Chapo and proposed a routine upgrade. He claimed that for better security and reliability, they needed to move the servers from Canada to the Netherlands. Unbeknownst to the cartel, this move would make it much easier for U.S. authorities to gain access with help from Dutch police. Chapo, completely oblivious, trusted his tech genius and approved the move. In April 2011, the servers were migrated, and almost immediately, the FBI had a mirror of all the network's traffic. The floodgates burst open. Between April 2011 and January 2012, the FBI intercepted over 1,500 calls, including 100 to 200 calls made by El Chapo himself. For the first time, agents heard the drug lord's high-pitched, sing-songy voice as he micromanaged his empire from his mountain hideouts. The calls were a goldmine. In one recording, Chapo scolded his top lieutenant, Cholo Ivan, for beating corrupt police officers too harshly, telling him to take it easy with the police. In another, he casually negotiated multi-ton drug shipments and arranged massive bribes as if they were routine business matters. And because Rodriguez had also installed spyware on the phones of Chapo's wife, Emma Coronel, and a mistress, Agustina Cabanillas, the FBI was reading their texts too. They saw Chapo's jealous messages to his lover and his wife discussing hiding his weapons before a police raid. Chapo's obsession with spying had backfired, creating a detailed record of his criminal and personal life for the FBI. All the while, Rodriguez was living on a knife's edge. He was troubleshooting tech problems for assassins one minute and passing data to the FBI the next. The stress became so unbearable that he later testified he suffered a complete nervous breakdown in 2013 and required electroconvulsive therapy. He was playing the most dangerous game of his life, but the evidence he provided would be the final nail in El Chapo's coffin.
El Chapo wasn't captured immediately. The intelligence from Rodriguez was used to build a mountain of evidence, but the FBI moved carefully to protect their source. After a 2014 capture and a brazen escape, Chapo was finally recaptured in January 2016. But the true impact of Christian Rodriguez's betrayal wouldn't be felt until Chapo's 2019 trial in a Brooklyn federal courtroom. The man who had once seemed like an untouchable ghost was now sitting at the defendant's table. Prosecutors were ready to play their ace. FBI agent Stephen Marston took the stand to authenticate the recordings, and then they pressed play. For the first time in public, the courtroom heard the sing-songy, high-pitched voice of Joaquin Guzman. They played a clip of him ordering his enforcer not to be too rough with police. They played another of him negotiating a drug deal. Call after call, the jury heard El Chapo's own words damning him. The man who built a fortress of silence was being buried by the sound of his own voice. Christian Rodriguez also testified, but under extreme security. Court artists were forbidden from sketching his face. Speaking softly, the now 32-year-old detailed how he built the network and then gave the FBI the usernames and passwords that unlocked it all. He explained how he installed a recorder on the system and emailed the call files directly to the FBI. As he spoke, El Chapo reportedly sat stunned, listening to the man he trusted with his deepest secrets calmly lay out the story of his betrayal. The recordings were undeniable proof that Chapo was a hands-on manager who controlled every part of the Sinaloa cartel. This wasn't just testimony from rivals. This was the kingpin himself, caught on tape. The jury found him guilty on all 10 counts, and he was sentenced to life plus 30 years in prison, ensuring he would spend the rest of his days at ADX Florence, America's most secure supermax facility. In the end, it wasn't just greed or violence that brought Chapo down. It was arrogance. He placed absolute faith in a piece of technology, believing it made him invincible. What he failed to realize is that the most sophisticated security system in the world is only as strong as the person holding the keys. In his obsession for total control, he handed the instrument of his own destruction to a young IT expert. Christian Rodriguez, the man at the center of it all, vanished after his testimony. He is believed to be in the U.S. Witness Protection Program, his identity erased for his own safety. On top of the roughly $500,000 he made from the cartel, he was reportedly paid nearly $500,000 by the U.S. government for his cooperation. He was the unlikely spy who, with a few keystrokes, helped bring a brutal empire to its knees. The two agents in that bunker were witnesses to the beginning of the end, the moment a 21st century ghost was finally captured by his own digital echo. What do you think is the most shocking part of this story? The FBI's elaborate sting, or Chapo's own paranoia being used against him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories about the intricate operations that bring down major criminal figures, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.